My brother lied to destroy my marriage and have me disowned. Now my family is trying to reach out after 6 years. This is a long story, and English is not my first language, so I apologize in advance. To start, I, 45M, was married to my high school sweetheart, Sarah, 45F. We had 4 daughters, Jane, 24F, Tori, 22F, Brianna, 21F, and Claire, 18F. I met Sarah when we were 14, and we started dating right away. My parents loved Sarah, and she became like the daughter they never had. I remember my father sitting me down and giving me advice like, make sure you both have good communication with each other, think hard before you make any big decisions, that type of stuff. Sarah and I were dating for 7 years at the time when we found out she was pregnant with Jane. We were both over the moon, got married soon after, and went on to have our beautiful family. The only problem was my brother, Jack, 43M. Jack always had a crush on Sarah, and it kind of harmed my relationship with him. However, I tried to let it go because he was my brother, and Sarah also knew and had reassured me that she didn't have feelings for him. My limit was reached when Jack found out about mine and Sarah's engagement. He confessed his love for her and tried to convince her to leave me. However, she didn't and told me right away. At this point, I was mad at Jack, and I was ready to brawl it out with him, but Sarah asked me not to. I was seriously prepared to cut my brother out of my life. It took Sarah and my parents, 68M and 66F, to convince me not to. My marriage with Sarah went amazingly. Like any other couple, we had our ups and downs, but I wouldn't change anything about it. We were a passionate couple who loved each other and their children more than anything. My relationship with my brother improved after the incident, and I truly believed he had gotten over his crush on Sarah. Little did I know that he not only still had a crush on Sarah, but was also planning to break us up. One day, more than 6 years ago, I arrived home after a week away due to work and found my family waiting for me in the living room. Sarah and my daughters were crying, and when they saw me, they started to scream at me. Sarah said something like, "After all this time, how could you do this to us?" When I asked what she meant, she said I cheated on her. I was surprised she accused me of cheating. In the 25 years we had been together, I had never cheated on her. I asked what made her believe I cheated on her, and she showed me some pictures and texts that supposedly proved I had cheated on her with a colleague. I asked where she got this proof, and my brother jumped in, saying that this coworker, who was also friends with him, had confessed to him and sent him the proof. They called his coworker and confirmed everything was true. I started crying and begged Sarah to believe me. I told her that this was Jack's doing. She slapped me in the face and kicked me out. Before I left, Jane and Tori called me all kinds of names. The one that pained me the most was, "You are a disgrace to our family." For a long time, I tried to make Sarah and the girls see reason and understand that I would never cheat, but sadly, it was all in vain. My parents disowned me, and my dad said if I were a man, I would make the divorce easy. Before the end of the year, Sarah and I were already divorced, and my daughters didn't want to see me. In the beginning of 2017, Sarah and Jack got married. My daughters sent me a message saying that they hated me and didn't want anything to do with me, and that they had a new father figure in their lives. It was hard, but with a lot of therapy, I learned to move on. I always held on to hope that my family would find the truth, but I learned to live with the possibility they never would. 5 years went by without any contact with anyone from my family until a few days ago. I received a call from an unknown number. When I picked up, I said, "Hello? Who is this?" And I heard sobs from the other side. It was my mom. She said they were sorry and wanted to meet me. I asked why, and my mom said my family had found the truth about everything, but this was a matter to be discussed personally. I told my mom that when or if I felt ready to meet them, I would call her, but I didn't want to be contacted by anyone until or unless I said something back. She told me she understood and that she missed me. We said our goodbyes, but to be honest, I still don't know what I should do. Update 1. A few people have asked me for an update, so here it is. I arrived at my parents' on Saturday morning. I rang the doorbell, and my mom opened it. She started crying and hugged me. It was a bit awkward for me. My dad gave me a handshake, and I got in. My mom started trying to make small talk. She asked me how I was. She then commented that I looked much better and that I had lost weight. I replied, "When you're depressed, you forget to eat." I then asked how they found out. My mom said that Jack had been drinking and got into an argument with Sarah, then he slipped up on something about the proof he had of me cheating. Sarah caught on to it and pressed him for more details, eventually leading him to confess. Sarah and my daughters wanted to contact me, but my mom said it would be better if she just contacted me. I started laughing. My dad was a little mad and asked me, "What's so funny?" I said that my brother probably spent years trying to separate me and Sarah and ended up ruining it all by himself. All he had to do was be quiet, and he could continue with his beautiful life. I then asked my parents if they could imagine how our lives would be if they and Sarah hadn't tried to convince me to forgive my brother after he tried to convince Sarah to run away with him. My dad started crying. It was the first time in my 45 years of life that I had seen my old man cry. He started apologizing, saying he was an awful father but that he, my mom, Sarah, and my daughters were all sorry. I was able not to cry, and I told them that I would love to reconcile, but it would take time. My mom asked me if she could give the green light to Sarah to contact me. I said yes. They then asked more about my life, as they wanted to know how I was doing. Overall, it was better than I expected. The next day, Sarah sent me a message and asked me if she could call me. I replied a few hours later that she could. Not even 5 minutes later, she called me. She asked me how I was. I told her that given the circumstances, I could be worse. I asked how she and our daughters were. She said that they were not so good. After my brother confessed, Sarah and my daughters felt remorseful and kicked my brother out. I asked Sarah a few questions. Why did she marry Jack so quickly and how come she didn't believe me? She started crying. She said that during and after our divorce, my brother had been her rock. Sarah said that they eventually started dating, and they got married because, and I was shocked to hear this, she got pregnant. I was a bit taken aback when I heard it. I asked if she could repeat it, and she did. I told her that I needed time. I warned that the chances of us getting back together were not looking good, and I didn't want her to have false hopes. She cried a bit more, but said she understood. She ended the conversation with an "I love you, I just said goodbye." Update 2. My mom was the bridge of communication between me and my daughters. I messaged her that I wanted to meet my daughters in a public place, and she recommended a park, and we met yesterday. When I got there, my daughters had already arrived. I only had a few seconds to process seeing them for the first time in more than half a decade because Jane, my 24-year-old, jumped on me. She was crying and kept saying she was sorry and asked me not to hate them. We stayed hugging for a few minutes. It seemed like she didn't want to let me go. It took Claire, my 18-year-old, to take Jane off me. Tori, my 22-year-old, asked me how I was. I looked at her for a few seconds. I was still surprised to see how much she had grown in the last years, but I also kind of saw the last 6 years flashing through my eyes. For a while after the divorce, I just looked at pictures of me, Sarah, and the girls together, remembering the good old days, and started wondering if living was still worth it. After a few seconds, I told Tori I had gotten a cat. I said that he was a great cat and my best friend, and if it weren't for him, I wouldn't be here speaking to her. As soon as I said this, all my daughters started crying. I was looking at them, crying on the inside but somehow still able to maintain my composure. They all said they were sorry for not believing me and begged me to forgive them. I told them I still loved them more than anything, but it would take time for me to truly forgive them, and they would have to show me by their actions, and not their words, how sorry they were. I noticed Jane was wearing a ring. I asked her about it. She told me she had gotten married to her longtime boyfriend 2 years ago. At this point, I was about to burst into tears knowing I had missed my daughter's wedding. I just asked if he walked down the aisle, and she quietly said yes. I just couldn't do it anymore and started crying my heart out. That monster stole everything I held dear and robbed me of one of the moments I was longing for the most, walking my daughter down the aisle. I was ugly crying, and I could tell Jane was sad as well. I told her that I would get over it and not to worry about it. She just hugged me again silently. We stayed like that for what seemed like a long time. After we broke off the hug, Jane said she was sorry once again. I told my daughters that I needed a few days but I would like to go to family therapy with them, and they agreed. Me and my daughters were catching up about each other's lives, and it felt good to have a normal conversation with them. They gave me their phone numbers, we said our goodbyes, and I hugged every single one of them tightly for a long time. Update 3. I would like to start by thanking everyone for their support. A user has been messaging me, and his input on my situation has been very helpful. I explained to him that Jack was always praised by our parents due to his grades and was somewhat always competitive. This user believed that my brother could be a narcissist and saw Sarah and my daughters as trophies. My daughters and I attended therapy last Saturday. I got in first and explained to the therapist my concerns about Jack being a narcissist. She told me my concerns could be right, but it was not certain. My therapy session was a bit emotional but good. I started by explaining how I felt during all this time, how many nights I cried missing Sarah and the girls, how I had nightmares, and how hard it was all for me. My daughters did talk, but it was not easy to understand their words. They were crying the entire time, and it got worse as time went by, to the point I had to calm them down and reassure them that I was not mad at them. The session ended, and we will attend our second session next Friday. Although I still don't know what will happen, I am hopeful I can rebuild my relationship with my girls. Also, I had dinner with my daughters on Tuesday. It went well, and they had the chance to meet my cat, and they brought a copy of pictures of us. It was a nice gift.